If you've ever wondered what my thoughts are on analytics in pro football, specifically like Pro Football Focus and the guys and the work they do there, well, I'll give you a little insight now. And if you didn't want it, well, you're getting some insight now, okay? I feel like analytics are a part of the evaluation of the game. I don't feel like they should be totally and completely dismissed. And I feel like doing so is foolhardy. The whole old crusty scouts and executives and coaches that are like, oh, these are a bunch of math nerds and they don't know what they're talking about. They didn't play the game. It's just really dumb logic. Like, I look at it as a Cubs fan, as I watched a guy like Theo Epstein, who was never a pro player. He never played in Major League Baseball. He ended up taking two organizations in the Red Sox and the Cubs with incredibly long, historically long curses, droughts, for winning championships, and built them into world champions. But if you use the football logic of, you had to play the game until you know the game, they would have never given Epstein a shot. And Epstein's got all those rings, and a lot of those scouts and executives and coaches that think that way don't have a single damn one of them. Now, granted, that's baseball compared to football, and baseball is a more statistically driven game. It's easier to control that. I get that, but you shouldn't just completely dismiss. To me, I look at it and say, any and all information that you get, you can use that resource and make it valuable to you if you choose to accept it. I do not feel like any one thing should be the ultimate be-all, end-all of it. That said, it feels like the guys at Pro Football Focus over the years have gotten more and more full of their own shit. Specifically, when you get turd Fergusons like Chris Collinsworth bought into them and invested in them, to where now you get it presented on NBC where they're giving the Pro Football Focus ranking like this is the only measurement and the measurement of how good a player is. Like, a fan is going to sit there and say, hey, this guy's ranked 1 out of 118 at his position in the league. That's what they're saying, so he's got to be the best in the league. And that's just dumb. And they don't provide the proper context. They don't provide the analysis and the explanation for how those grades are arrived at. And frankly, I feel like no matter how much Pro Football Focus pretends like they do, they never really truly give a full justification for their grades, other than we get the all 22s and we watch the film and we get a bunch of different people to watch the film. Well, bull. And I specifically say that, not so much with the pro game, but with the college game. And talking about players and how they grade out and this and that. Because I've seen time after time after time in recent years where Pro Football Focus has stuck a really high grade on a player and their pass protecting efficiency and their run blocking efficiency. And they've got a plus pass blocking game and a plus run blocking grade. And blah, blah, blah. And that shit should translate to the NFL, and it absolutely doesn't. It just doesn't. And in particular, when you look at the mock drafts that those guys do and their big boards in terms of where they rank players, they're just way off. Like, granted, by nature, mock drafts are going to be off. You know, it's different things, different people with different perspectives. But, like, they're on a whole different level of terrible. Like, Peloso, whoever the hell does them, they just suck at mock drafts. That's just the real truth. They suck at the big boards and da-da-da-da-da. When I see something like Kalen Ballage was their highest rated returning running back after 2016 heading into 2017, that just lets me know that when it comes to the college game, those grades don't mean shit when it comes to the NFL. Absolutely no freaking way. Because there is no way you're going to tell me from a grading standpoint that Kalen Ballage, with all of his flaws and the fact that all those years at Arizona State, he could never become the true featured number one back, that he was your highest graded running back. That's ridiculous. Higher grade than Saquon Barkley, higher grade than Darius Geis, higher grade than Ronald Jones, higher grade than Sony Michel, higher grade than Nick Chubb, higher grade than Royce Freeman, higher grade than Bo Scarborough, Damian Harris, any other one of those big name running backs that you had heading into 2017. What I saw, they had him rated as their number one guy. That's just Riri. I'm sorry. This is absolutely Riri. Because there's no way. And I mean no way. And surely in 2 or 3 years, if Ballage is a star in the NFL, I'm going to have the wise asses, the I told you so guys, coming back at me, which is only fair because I'm an I told you so guy myself. They'll sit there and say, well, you didn't know what the hell you were talking about. You were so wrong. You got this ass wrong. And they're going to laugh at me. Well, the truth is, You can't actually watch Kalen Ballage's Arizona State film and see a star. You just can't. It doesn't mean he cannot become one, especially with the physical package that he has. It doesn't mean that a coach won't get him and develop him and a staff won't get the most out of him. But right now, there is just no viable, feasible path to see it. It would require so much of a leap of faith and so much projection, just one that I am truly not comfortable making because I don't feel like it's based in reality. Because yes, he's a tall back with plenty of muscle on his frame. He's a big back. He looks like a feature back. He's got a nice combination of quickness and speed for his size. He is a home run threat. Then when you talk about he's played every game the last 2 seasons, but he doesn't have a ton of mileage on his body, so he's pretty fresh in terms of the grand scheme of things getting to the NFL. With that size, with that quickness and speed, you look at him and if you're scouting him, you're kind of drooling at the physical potential that's there. You see a guy with the traditional size, quickness, speed, weight, height combination, and he's got it in abundance. And you project him and you're like, man, he could be a home run back as a ball carrier. He can run physically between the tackles. He can make a bunch of guys miss in the open field. He can be a weapon as a pass catcher. We can get him out there in the flat and he can make people miss. He can be a difference maker there. And then you actually watch the film. He's a big back, but he doesn't run like it. He's not very physical at all. I was really disappointed. I thought he was more physical than he was, and he just isn't. He gets stuffed a lot. He has trouble breaking tackles a lot. He does not run through a lot of tackles. I don't even care if the analytics guys try to say that they do. Like in terms of real tackles, he ain't breaking many of them. He's got poor vision and patience, so not only does he not run physically between the tackles, doesn't make a bunch of guys miss by running through them, getting additional yards after contact, he has trouble seeing the field, he has trouble seeing the holes, and he has trouble waiting for them. A lot of times you just watch Ballage on film and he just crashes right into the back of the line. I was like, what the fuck was the point of that? Might as well just spike the ball. Would have saved everybody the risk of injury, and would have ended up with the same result. If anything, it might have ended up with better, because at least if you spike the ball, you don't lose any yardage. Ballage just crashing into the back of the line could lose you some yardage. Then to top it off, a guy that didn't get a ton of touches at Arizona State because he was never quite good enough to be the lead back, had some ball security issues in the past. He got a little bit better at the end of his career, but this is a guy that had put the ball on the ground a little bit, and that should be concerning. Not very aggressive in pass protection. This is a big guy, and you would like him to be able to be somebody you could count on to pick up blitzes and help out, and he's just not. It just doesn't seem like something that's interests him, and his technique is really, really bad. I mean, he's the type of back ultimately. Here's who Kalen Ballage is to me. He's the type that goes to the combine, and he gets people buzzing, like I talked about. He wins the 40, for his size. He runs in the low to mid 4.4s, and people are buzzing. He jumps high. He jumps far. Maybe he does well in the agility drills. He can sit there in a T-shirt and shorts, and he can catch the ball and run crisp routes, and people get drooling, and they're like, we got to go back and watch the film again, and maybe we missed something. And the truth is you didn't. Because what happens is he's at the combine, he's at the individual workouts, he's at the pro days where he's not wearing pads, he gets you buzzing. And then you go back to the film, and you start ho-humming. Because you just don't see it. A dude with tremendous physical potential that never put it together. A dude that you look at that is incredibly frustrating, and maybe you can hear it in my voice, because I expected Kalen Ballage to be much more than he actually was. I felt like this was going to be a guy that I should have been able to come on here and talk about how he's a top 3 or 4 running back in this class, and in 3 years I'll be laughing at all of you. Ha-ha! When I'm proven right. And I just can't feel comfortable enough saying it because I don't believe it, because there are so many damn flaws in his game. These are the type of guys that if they happen to pan out, they make you look like a superstar. But more often than not, they don't. They're athletes and aren't football players, and they get you fired. And the other question I've got is, if he was so good and if he was so awesome according to Pro Football Focus and other people, and then the people talking about the Senior Bowl and shit, then why was he never the lead dog? I mean, that does matter a little bit, doesn't it? That a guy's supposed to be so good for the NFL level that he couldn't even lead his own college backfield. And you could say, well, maybe the guy there was better than him. Was he that much better than him? And if he was, what does that say about Ballage when he's almost 6'2", 225 pounds, and he can run like that? Now, you're going to see a lot of comparisons to him and David Johnson. And I agree in a sense that there are elements where you talk about the size and then you talk about the quickness and the speed for the size and the home run threat ability and, maybe a little bit of potential as a receiver coming out of college, even though I knew David Johnson, if you remember, I said had much more potential as a receiver. But that's pretty much where it ends. Like David Johnson to me coming out of Northern Iowa, I projected as an NFL running back, as a starting NFL running back, could be a really good one. If I remember correctly, the wording was something to the effect, he's really going to surprise people, and I won't be surprised if he vastly outplays the grade, and he's going to be a massive steal. I could be embellishing a little bit, but I think that was kind of the fundamental thing that I said about him. So, from a size, speed, quickness standpoint, it's there. After that, it's not. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Ballage gets taken in the mid to late second round, early third round, because again, somebody falls in love with the size, weight, speed combination, the quickness, the burst, and they drool over the physical potential, and they think, I'll get my hands on him. Arizona State, they hired Herm Edwards recently. What the fuck would they know? And it's a valid question, but ultimately, maybe they knew something because Ballage never got the opportunity. I'm sure any Sun Devils fans that are watching this would probably agree with me that Ballage was a massive disappointment, and they don't get the buzz and the hype about what is so special about this guy because in real live game situations, he just didn't have it. He just didn't bring it like you felt like he could, like honestly you felt like he should. That's why I've got a 4th round grade on him. To me, he's the type of guy, 4th round, I'll gamble on him all day long because if he doesn't work out, it's a 4th round pick. Who's really going to remember? But if he does, then I only spent a 4th round pick on him, got 3 to 4 years of good production on him before I had to think about paying him big money, and I'm going to look like a superstar talent evaluator. That's where he should be drafted. To me, if he starts getting into early round 2, even mid round 2 rally, honestly, conversation, I feel like that's just way too rich. Like, I really, honestly, even if I felt like there was a run on running backs and he might not be there in round 4, if I'm picking anywhere before mid to late round 3, I'm not taking him. Because I just wonder, after all this time, if he hasn't put it together, what do I think is going to be so special about me that's going to help him put it together? And maybe he'll show you an occasional flash, but again, all this buzz about him, I think it's bullocks on Ballage, because I'm not buying it. And in particular, I can't believe the analytics dudes are that high on this dude either, because I have to ask, what the hell are you watching that I'm not?